All right, hello. Welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are back tonight. We are playing more Swords of the Serpentine. We are down in Aaron, but we are +1 long. So you know, there's a trade. Next week, Jeremy, Melissa, or Kipser will be missing, and that's how we're going to play this entire.
Oh no!
Someone's going to get retired. Oh, did I tell you this? You guys not check the fine print of your work? But we're back. So long. Did you make you make your changes to your character and stuff between arcs? Did you do that?
Yeah, I took away some points on warfare because I don't think I was really attacking melee stuff, and I just put it in general abilities.
Oh, that's a shame that you did that now, considering how the this arc started.
Like all of your warfare points? Like you have zero in it?
I'm a sorcerer, so I didn't really use it.
Okay. Well, I mean, you did watch last week's episode, you said, right?
Yeah, I did.
You may have made a very poor choice here. Very poor choice. We'll see. So, you know, because Arkadiy's not around to help you, because we're going to do your little opening scene here. Okay. All right. And so you said you switched some stuff around. So I gave you I gave everyone the lemon law stuff. Did you like spend the new points at all?
Yeah, I threw up my sorcery a little bit, and then I put some in stealth and bind wounds. Okay. Because maybe that's helpful.
Did you, what was the other thing? Wealth. Did you do the wealth stuff that you're supposed to do?
Yeah, I spent it all to be comfortable.
Okay. I think almost everyone did. Did anyone not do?
We're all comfortable. We all looked at the minus stats and said, no thanks.
You all really are wealthy nobles. That's basically what you are.
I'm living in comfort here. Thank you.
For sure. Okay, well, let's dive in. I'll do the quick summary. Then we're going to throw it to Long. Long's going to get to start this episode off so everyone can lean back, watch him get his ass kicked. So yes.
Before you do that, I just want to let you know that Stephen dropped 1,000 bits, quote, for the GM.
Okay. Of this game, though, because Kipser GM's on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
She's technically a GM as well.
Oh, yeah.
We'll assume that you are the GM of note tonight.
Okay, because the rest of them don't, because they're a bunch of freeloaders. Okay. Hey, Jeremy's run Goblin Quest on the channel, actually, now that I remember that.
True.
Remember that?
Jeremy has run Goblin Quest
a while back. Yeah.
And Long has GM'd for us at home.
And Long GM'd by using the backs of a Domino's pizza carton once to draw maps.
Lovely. It was great.
So Melissa, freeloader.
Yes.
Freeloader. Everyone else in this game has GM'd for various people within our friend group. But you, how do you feel about that?
Yes.
What are your thoughts? Wax on for about an hour and a half. Let's just cut the episode down a little bit.
I'm okay with that. I know where my strengths are, and I know where they're not, and so I'm okay with this decision.
So, what do you think your strengths are, there, Melissa? I'm just kind of curious. Just a little. What do you? let's see what those things are.
I was promised sitting back and watching Long on the Hot Seat, so I would like to cash in my opportunity to sit back and watch Long on the Hot Seat.
Okay. So. You don't answer simple questions. That's fine. Okay, so last time around, we started up a new arc. A couple years have passed since, if you watch the tiebreaker arc, this is a new arc, and it's a couple years have passed. And we started on a very average and unassuming day in Eversink. We very quickly changed that as trouble arrived very quickly to threaten the family. Chauncey and his dear friend Pisspot Randy have apparently gotten into the warehouse stevedore game in Sag Harbor or near enough, and you were working on storing some sort of shipment. Fortuna, you have been trying to find some distant family lines, and so you were looking for any like bastards and things in the main wall and line or whatever, trying to bring them back into the fold. So you were meeting with some kebab sellers. Arkadiy was at a fight club and hanging out with his thief friend Helena. Solavita, you were like salvaging stuff from a nearly sunken basement that the Guilds of Architects and Canal Watchers were going to seal. And we saw a little brief shot of Mario and Luigi. And then all at once across the city, seemingly at the exact same time or near enough, all of you were attacked by these grimy figures who were speaking in kind of dialects that some were difficult to understand here and there. And then when killed, they inexplicably turned to salt upon their deaths. Chauncey, you were at a warehouse ambush. You survived that ambush. You basically taunted the guy into killing himself on a hook and killing one of his friends. You discovered a bronze signet ring in the pile of one of the salt piles that you would recognize as belonging to House Valtieri, which is a mercanti, respected mercanti house. Fortuna, you rallied a bunch of commoners to your cause. You stabbed one in the neck. The smell, and somebody nearby mentioned that it kind of smelled like the swamps. Arkadiy, he eluded his enemies completely, and he actually watched as they teleported in front of him. They they almost like disintegrated into salt, and then managed to like shift and move, and then reappear somewhere else down an alley. Solovita, you got the worst of it. Probably you escaped certain death. You raced to the Legitimate Bastard, which is Chauncey's tavern, and you turned two of them into stone before you were able to actually escape. Back at the manor, you ran into Arkadiy, and the two of you discovered that the manor had been attacked as well. There were a bunch of dead house guards. There were a bunch of piles of salt. Althavira and Pelletier, I know you're all very worried. Both of them survived, and they barricaded themselves in the dining hall. But when you went to check on the matriarch's chambers, Matriarch Eliana IV, because apparently Althavira and Pelletier forgot to check on her when the attack was happening, you and Arkadiy found the guard dead. The door to the chambers were open, and Eliana was missing. Solovita, you also fetched Artura, one of the city watch people that we know in this neighborhood, and that's where we ended. But we're going to put that on pause for a second, as we are going to kind of flash back for a moment, and once more we're going to see the beautiful blue skies over top of Eversink. Not a cloud in the sky, or if there is, it's just a wisp. And we are like kind of travel over the kind of scattered docks and islets and islands and ships, the hundreds of ships out in Sag Harbor. We're going to pass over the foreign districts. We're going to see Little Erebos. We're going to see Cane Town. We're going to see the Irlevian Quarter. All these places that we kind of passed over before. We can see the necropolis in Giglio Hill. You can see Temple Market, but just kind of flying all the way over. And then we're going to settle in on a place. So Long, where is it do we find Vincent at this time of day? Middle of the day? Where is Vincent right now?
He's on a gondola, riding down the canals.
Okay. Do you have a general idea of like where around, like, is there a particular district or a neighborhood or something that you're looking for?
Yeah, we're in the main chunk of the city. So like Temple Market, where everyone's wandering.
Okay. All right. So you're far to the west. You're in the Temple Market district. You hear the sounds of basic commerce echoing throughout. As it's the middle of the day, it's the busiest time of day. If you're traveling in a gondola, you're probably periodically passing by where places, the markets actually spill over into the canals, and you can see these sort of temporary market stalls come up affixed to these stalls itself. What is Vincent doing as he traverses the canals here?
He's got his newfound fortunes. He's spending money he has. He's been locked away for years. He's getting to know the land, how it once was, how it is. Get a better understanding of the city.
Are you all by yourself? Are you with anybody?
I could be with maybe some Sorcerer Cabal fellas, since I'm a low member myself.
Okay. All right. You want to give us an introduction to one of them? Just somebody of note?
Yeah, his name could be Rubio.
Rubio. Okay. All right. Rubio, your sorceress. Is this, you are a member of this cabal? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm a low-ranking member of it.
Okay. Does this cabal have a name? Most of them do. Whether it's well known or not is an entirely different story.
Something like the Hex Hunters.
The Hex Hunters. Okay, we can workshop it. We'll return to it.
So like 90s edginess. Yeah.
The Hex Hunters. They're hunting for Hex. Do you also think the 90s? Did anyone ever watch you ever watched Lex, the sci-fi show? Remember that?
That sounds familiar. Oh, yeah. Hold on. That's like female lead, right?
Female lead. Two X's.
Like,
two X's. Yeah.
Bodysuit or something like that?
Yeah, there was some stuff.
Okay, yeah. I think I saw the promos, but.
So, Vincent, you and Rubio are traversing the canals here, and you say you're like trying to learn more about the city. Like, so, like, what is it like the two of you been doing? As you sort of look over and you see the gondola pilot is just sort of pushing the two of you through, and you're passing by all of these different markets. Are you shopping, or are you trying to like dig into some other less obvious means of collecting information or items or something?
Yeah, it's like rumors and getting an idea of people's faces, maybe how they're acting, what they're selling.
Okay.
Maybe there's corruption or artifacts of power.
Okay. You passing through the market, if your gondola pilot pulls up next to you, next to some of these floating marketplaces, anything out in the open, anything underneath the bright light of the sky, seems to be on the up and up, which isn't to say there aren't things worth purchasing. There are sellers of tomes that probably don't have a full understanding of the contents of some of those tomes and languages from cultures far and wide. Others that have just been looted out of various basements and haven't quite fully understood what they have and what they're selling. Every now and then, though, as you passed underneath like an arch that like an arched bridge, you find these kind of hidden pathways that maybe Rubio is directing your pilot to. These little dark little tributaries to the larger canal, and you kind of get pushed into some of these more hidden marketplaces and skeevier in some ways, where someone will come off and they'll kind of show you this array of wares, some of which might have like bloodstains on them. Others you can clearly tell were not forgeries so much as like definitely heretical in some way. And so you just kind of pass by. Your friend Rubio steps off maybe and starts perusing some of these wares a little bit more fully. And Vincent, you get an odd feeling at one point as you're traversing through this sort of like dark, hidden away market for these various like magical items that aren't supposed to be here. You think someone's watching you. You have this strange feeling. You spent a lot of your time in life. The first half of your life, like 9 years or so, was spent in the old summer palace and the prisons. You got used to maybe having eyes in the back of your head. And right now, you feel that there's somebody somewhere in this crowd of ne'er-do-wells that is watching you.
Then I'll try not to panic, but really feel paranoid and look at everyone that's around the area.
You look around, and most everybody isn't really paying too much attention to anything but whatever it is they're shopping. So you see there's a lot of people who are standing and going through wares. You can see there's hawkers of illicit goods who are trying to make sales. And then there's spotters at various ends of this sort of run of canal that are kind of keeping an eye out for any signs of like the canal watch to shout so people can disperse. You can see at some point, Rubio, you lose him in your vision. You maybe he's wearing some kind of bright hat, like a feather sticking out the back, and you can kind of see the feather moving about in the dark recesses of the market. And as your eye is tracking, one by one, you suddenly see the face staring back at you. And it's like they were looking at you this whole time, and you just finally caught up. And you see the face of a very beautiful woman, fairly ageless. Like you can't quite get a sense as she's looking at you. She has like a face that doesn't suggest youth, but doesn't suggest age. And it almost has this way of just kind of confusing you. And the more you study it, the more you focus on it, the less it seems that you can actually sort of pinpoint exactly who she might be. She's got dark hair. She's got black hair, and she's streaks of white and red kind of coming down here and there that are very clearly done intentionally. And she is dressed with in a gown, almost like a gown that should be reserved for much more high life kind of moments, not in the griminess of some undermarket. but she's staring right at you. And you feel this little kind of tingle on your ears, as if like your hair is beginning to stand on end and it's sort of starting to scrape against it. She's there with you, but she's not right next to you. She's a good 20 feet or so away, and there's plenty of other people in between, none of whom seem to even pay attention to her.
I'll push past the people, try to catch up to who I see.
Okay. You take about 10 steps, and as you're about halfway there, you see her smile. She turns around, and then she just starts walking away slowly from you. Everyone, and unlike you, who was having to like push and shove and jockey, everyone just kind of seems to part for her.
Hold on. I'll try to keep pace.
And you keep pace, and you see that she just sort of disappears underneath this sort of dark, like into the dark recesses of this alcove behind what looks like these two stalls that are selling what you could only imagine are probably like stolen from the dead kind of jewelry that seems to be, displayed. You kind of hear the sounds of a hawker trying to sell you something, but you continue after her. You, every now and then in like the recesses, you see like a little illumination of light. You're not sure where it comes from. You don't see a torch. You don't see a lantern, but every now and then you just see something glow. And there is her like silhouetted side. You see this red gown. You can see like there's this high collar. You see her hair is up in most of the cases, but is also kind of arrayed down at the side. And she is moving with like the regalness of royalty. And every time you get close, she just seems a little bit further out of reach, until when you look back, you see that you don't even notice the actual market anymore. It's so far away. And that's when, like, as you recenter yourself, you hear a voice. I was wondering if you had the constitution of a young man. And you like look around and you don't see her anymore, but you hear her voice.
Still young at heart. Where have you gone?
Oh, I am here. You cannot see me?
Try and take a closer look if I could see her.
And you look and you look, and you don't see her at first. And she says, I have heard stories that in the basements, in the subcells of the old summer palace, many of those who would lay in cells would do so for weeks on end in darkness, and they would come to be capable of seeing within the shadows. Is this just folly? Is this legend? Have I been lied to?
It's maybe like a spirit sight thing, so I'll see if she shows up in spirit sight.
Okay. So as you sort of trigger that, she doesn't show up in spirit sight, but you do see that there are two figures that suddenly you see hovering in front of you. There are these kind of hulking men with these thick barrel chests, and they both are carrying what looks like long spears. And they are hovering, but the light of their sort of spectral energy shines on her, who is standing between them as if they're flanking her like guards. And she says, ho, well done, Mr. Guy. Well done. Now, come here. I have much to discuss with you.
Yeah, I guess. I'll step closer.
Okay. And so she's like eyeing you, and I would say you definitely are getting the feeling that she is like a cat playing with her food. She seems like she's toying, like she's enjoying your discomfort. But as you step in and like kind of up and close to her, you realize that there is this small reservoir of water, and there is like a gondola and a pilot that seems to be waiting to sort of take her away. But she looks at you and she says, you have been a source of curiosity and interest for us, those within my organization, for quite some time. We've followed your arc with quite a great deal of interest. You demonstrated significant power during, what was it? Tidebreaker's Day. How very quaint. And you demonstrated intestinal fortitude with your very lengthy sentence that your family seemed unwilling to pay down. Yes, you are a very interesting specimen for us indeed. What are your plans now with your newfound freedom, Mr. Guy?
Must build up the main wallings again. That's the only reason they've called.
She sort of like rolls her eyes a little bit when you say that. And I was afraid you'd say that. The main Wallens, they are a decayed noble house that abandoned any potential they possessed centuries ago. You are far too good for them, Mr. Guy. I would hope that after they severed ties with you by not paying down your sentence, that you might return the favor. Does blood truly run that deep with you?
That's the only connection I have, if I can gain power through this.
Oh. No, Mr. Guy, there are many other opportunities for... And she smiles, because it's like you said something that she approved of. Gaining power. Vincent, do you have... let me see. Do you have... You said you have nobility, right?
Yeah, I just got a newly gang ranked in it.
Okay. Would you like to spend a point of nobility? As you realize, standing this close to her, she looks very familiar. But something about the way her face just sort of shifts and de-ages that you can't quite place.
I'd like to know. I'll spend it.
Okay. You would know her, now that you're close, and now that she's smiling, as Ludovica Tonucci. And you would know that name not because she is a member of your house or a member of the Bonaventures, but you would know her because the nobles in Alderhall tend to enjoy a certain kind of entertainment. And that kind of entertainment can be found at the opera house. And there is a very well-known prima donna who participates and is kind of a headliner there. And you're speaking to her.
I've seen you before. The Opera House.
Very good, Mr. Guy. Very good. Others in my organization questioned whether you had the seasoning to be of interest to us. And I tried to assure them that you were more than your family's offspring. You have potential that runs deeper than them. I hear you are running with some low-level cabal, some hex-focused fools, whatever the name might be. Tell me, are you happy in your current position?
No, I'm merely a errand runner.
Excellent. Well, there might be another path forward for you. If you are willing to sever ties with your former allegiances to your family, who I'm afraid to say is non-negotiable. In your feather-hatted friend out there who can't seem to find his best friend within a small market. If you are willing to step boldly into the future, then you and I and others of like mind, there's prosperity on the horizon if you are bold enough. Now, Mr. Guy, I'll of course let you think on this. I'm sure you will want to consider your options. But when you are ready to discuss your future in earnest, go to the Hollow Lantern Inn, the tavern near Sag Harbor. Tell the bartender there that you are ready to take your entrance exam. Yes?
The offer's enticing.
Good. Now, I believe your friend is beginning to panic. Run along, return to him, pat him on the head like the dog that he is, and we will speak again later.
I'll back out of this shadowy cave.
Okay. And you see she steps onto this gondola, and you see, like, you didn't even notice these. Out of the shadows, you can see there's like two other people, physical people, corporeal people dressed in sort of, just sort of dark clothing that you didn't even realize were there, that go on the gondola with her, as if she had just this hidden group following her along the way. And as you see her gondola kind of disappear into the darkness, you return to the market, you find your friend Rubio, and you depart for the day. Okay. We'll close out of there. Are all of you upset that I didn't kick the shit out of Vincent? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to point out, so Levita, you put a point in Sorcerer's Cabals as an enemy.
Yep.
Vincent put a point in there as allies. And thus is the difference between your openings for Arc 2. Okay. We will pick up then with Solavita and Arkadiy. And I'll say, Fortuna, you had just arrived. You'd probably arrive shortly thereafter, maybe after Artura Lamaso, the City Watch captain, has joined with some of her City Watch officers who have begun to sort of scour the grounds and at the behest of Solavita and some of the others. And we are standing, I'll say, the three of you. Would Chauncey have returned, do you think, Jeremy? Would he have
I think so,
back?
especially with the ring.
Okay.
He would bring that back to some more learned folks to make assumptions.
Absolutely. So then we'll say that in short order, all four of you, the only one probably missing currently is going to be Vincent. We'll say he is busy with other things. But the four of you are standing in the hall, this grand hall outside of the massive open doors into the matriarch's chamber, into Eliana the Fourth's chamber. You have already heard that she is missing. She is not there. The door was open. There are piles of salt. There is her dead personal guard on the ground. This is where you all are as the scene begins. And Fortuna and Chauncey, you come late to the party to join Solavita and Arkadiy. What do you all want to do? How do you start this?
Well, I'm going to go sit on the chair and try not to bleed on it a little bit. And look what I got in my hand.
Okay. So are you going to do some healing, you think?
I'm going to wait because I don't have an 8 in sort of general bind wounds, I'm going to hold out for Fortuna and hope that she heals me.
Okay, fair enough. So I will say, Fortuna and Chauncey, as you arrive, you do notice very quickly, Solavita looks terrible. Like she's got blood running down from a couple different wounds, especially this bad slash.
You've got red on you.
Yes, I hadn't noticed. Thank you. That's the wrong one.
So this is so very unexpected. Very thankful that there were some stronger folks around me that were able to take some of these blows. But my word, what did you also have attackers that
yes,
ended in assault?
I feel like so, Chauncey, you ought to beware. I left 2 new statues for you at the Legitimate Bastard as I was attacked on my way there. I got some good... Well, I look sideways at Fortuna. I got the package for you from the Canal Guild. And yes, I got attacked, and I turned a few of them to statues. I can turn them back if you want, but
No, free decor. I mean, I won't turn it down. I myself successfully led my men on the field of battle. No injuries. The ward man was hurt before I got there, but naturally I led the resulting rescue of him. Is anybody familiar with House Valtieri by chance? One of them turned to salt and had this on him.
Oh. What kind of role would that be, Jeff? Just, I guess, nobility
no
or
real role, I would say, is necessary. So you're just looking to get like background information on them.
Mhm.
Chauncey, you honestly would probably know them because of your recent foray into the warehouse industry. House Valtieri is, again, they're a respected but not extraordinarily powerful like mercanti house, like their guild. So it's probably family run, but not only family. That also focus on like warehouse and storage and things like that within and near Sag Harbor.
The people in the family I've met have been nothing but kind and easy to work with. I rather like them, so I can rather understand why strange people with glowing tattoos that turn into salt would be carrying that whenever they trying to murder oneself.
I smell of the swamp. It was quite odorous.
Well, you get to drink the swamp water soon enough. But I did steal from their pocket some stuff before I turned them to stone and ran away.
Okay,
not in that order necessarily.
So as you take a look at what you stole, you realize it was it was basically some pouch, but you kind of semi fell apart. But you realize now, as you open your palm, maybe you've been gripping it really tightly this whole time, that half of your palm now is like salt. But there is a scrap of parchment kind of inside that small handful of salt that you have in there. And it does look like it is is sort of like a partially ripped piece of paper. And when you look at it, Solavita, you can see that it has descriptions of various Mainwall and family members. Your name is on this one. But you also see a reference to Chauncey and the legitimate bastard. And then it's also not just referencing the legitimate bastard, but it references like his warehouse business now. And it has like physical descriptions of who you are, of like what you look like and where you spend your time. And it looks like it's literally people who have watched or tracked you in some way.
Oh, great. This is not creepy at all. Do I see Vincent's name on here?
Are you willing to, there's something about the handwriting, I'll say, that you can get a spend on, but in terms of Vincent's name, no. But if you wanted to do a spend, the handwriting, there's something about the handwriting that makes maybe an eyebrow raise, like something hits the back of your mind there that looks kind of familiar. Anyone can do that. The three of you are here.
Yeah, I can do Forgotten Lore might be good for this, or I do now have a point in Liar's Tell, if that would work with the handwriting.
I would say probably not Liar's Tell, but I would take anything from like
here, so
Felonious Intent, maybe.
Felonious Intent, not me. Chauncey or Fortuna, maybe. It looks a little familiar, but not. Chauncey, they've got a bunch of information on your warehouse. Here, take a look.
Okay.
And meanwhile, Fortuna has been like, "Dear niece, I am trying to bind your wounds. I appreciate the energy in trying to solve this mystery, but I am trying to help you. Would you sit still?
Oh,
please.
All right. I am still for about 1 minute, and then I'm going to start moving again.
Okay.
So I'm going to spend 2 and roll a bind wounds.
Okay, you don't have to roll for bind wounds. I think we were doing that wrong last time around. I think you don't have to actually roll when using the bind wounds ability.
No,
it's just spend.
Oh, that's right. Every point you spend from your bind wounds full restores 2 health points to someone else who has lost health points, or 1 point to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so then
you can also do a leechcraft spend that would give her 6 points of health.
I do not have leechcraft.
If I were to enumerate how much my blood is leaving my body, it would be about a -3.
Oh dear. Okay, then I will spend 4 bind wounds.
I cannot save the negative values on my health tracker.
All right.
Okay.
No worries.
So I'll get you back to 1.
I appreciate that.
Chauncey, were you going to do a spend with this parchment?
I was trying to look. I don't know that I have anything good to spend other than ridiculous luck, but I'm willing to spend it.
Ridiculous luck works in silly
I
ways.
was trying to see. I actually tried to have some friends. Well, it's difficult to get the appropriate paperwork sometimes. I may have had people on occasion doctor some paperwork.
So you're looking at this, and you're looking to see, like, in terms of, is it anybody who is in your employ, maybe at the legitimate bastard, or one of your stevedores, or heaven forbid, Piss Pot Randy? And it doesn't seem familiar. You want to flip it over, but as you go to flip it over, you realize like some of Solavita's blood has like stuck to the back, which is now sticking to your finger, and like the paper just gets stuck, and you're just hitting it, and finally, like, it sort of partially tears and just flies up in the air and floats around, and you see it like wistfully just kind of going back and forth until it lands at the feet of Uncle Pelletier, who picks it up, and he's like, "Oh well, what's this here? Oh, well, that's interesting. Why is Henrietta describing the two of you and your whereabouts?" As he like shuffles over and hands it to you. As I can recognize her handwriting anywhere. Yeah, it's so atrocious and difficult to read. You see.
Of course it is. Such a treasure. So glad you're here. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. You're Arkadiy, aren't you? Is Arkadiy, right?
That's me, a warrior born, of course.
That is correct.
Oh, yes, I could tell by the broad shoulders. Yes. Okay.
Yes,
excellent.
thank you.
Oh, good gracious. This is all very terrible, isn't it? I hope dear Eliana is all right. Aldavira has made sure that Artura and her city watch don't go with their big heavy hands and their thick thumbs going through our dear matriarch's things. She did suggest that Arkadiy, yes, she did suggest Fortuna's dog Arkadiy maybe sniff around, see if there's anything you can find, but I'm feeling very lightheaded. Do you mind if I sit down? As he says this to Solavita, who's sitting down in like the only chair and covered in blood.
Yes,
fine.
I'm currently bleeding, so I think there's another chair like around the
bring it to
hall.
you straight away.
If
I'll
you
put
go the
these-
corner over there, really far
Understood.
away. Yeah.
I'll go looking for it. Chivalry isn't dead, even though they say it
Let
is.
me. I'll go get it. Put these big, strong shoulders to work,
Oh, you're very kind, Arkadiy. Aldavira is far
I'm
too.
the best boy, the
far too
finest
mean.
dog you'll ever have.
Yes, you are. Good boy. Go fetch.
I will.
So
Just love getting the image that he assumes Arkadiy is.
He's got, if you've forgotten, Pelletier. Pelletier has big, thick, like golden or bronze spectacles. And he's kind of got thinning hair that's greased back. And he can barely see. And his eyesight's not great. So he's constantly squinting through them. And everything he tries to read, he has to put up right against the lenses. But as you go and you fetch the chair, Fortuna and Solavita, you heard this. He referenced Henrietta. Henrietta, the two of you would know, as being one of the servants who would help him with his accounting books, but also would fetch wine for him when it wasn't really her job. You would know this person. I'm not saying you're friends with her necessarily, but you would know her as being a regular household servant within the maid wall.
Right.
Well, I didn't want her to be who wrote that because she is actually a very competent servant. So this is not great news.
Just distressed. We have treated her well. Well, we have treated her well. I can't speak for Pelletier, but we have made attempts to treat her well. This is most unfortunate.
Which one's Henrietta? Is she the one with the eye that goes that way?
No, she's usually hanging out in the library, usually darker clothes, you know?
Was she the one that leads us to the wine sometimes?
Yes, she gives us the wine, yes, yeah.
I
the
like
good stuff.
her. You know, let's just not assume too quickly. I mean, there's many reasons that somebody might try to gather information. She might have thought she was helping in her own way.
Yeah, maybe. You're better at the social stuff than me.
At least that's
Chauncey,
what we should tell her.
I do appreciate your looking on the bright side of things and giving people the benefit of the doubt. It is very helpful. I must say, though, she is starting at a disadvantage with this note being in her handwriting. Maybe you're right. Maybe there's a good explanation for this, but we really should. Chauncey, are you feeling okay? Are you in need of?
Fantastic! I'm completely unscathed. I even saved her life today.
Are you actually unscathed, or are you just?
I defeated this beast of a man, face like a whale scrotum, you know, but single combat.
Oh, yeah, they were quite ugly when they came to your inn, so sorry about, I guess, ugly statues.
That's okay. We'll find we'll maybe do some sort of like, some sort of creepy clown makeup on them or something. Like, we'll pose them in a fun way.
Yeah, okay. Or maybe just use them as coat racks, but,
Yes.
Speaking of health, I just remembered I looked at my character sheet wrong. My health threshold is 3. My current health is 0. So I actually.
Here, let me return the favor. Okay. I will spend 2, which will get you back up to 4.
Oh.
So while you two are patching yourself, maybe we'll say this is around the time when Vincent shows up. Would that be all right there, Long?
I've gotten the message as fast as I could. Lena's missing.
Yeah, we'll say that maybe someone, wherever it is, like you would normally spend your days, like maybe someone sent out a runner, or maybe if you were just coming back into the neighborhood, like you heard the news in some way. And so we see Vincent now coming inside. And Vincent, as you rush inside the manor, you notice that there were bodies everywhere. There were a handful of City Watch who are like inspecting some of the bodies. There was also like these piles of salt, which doesn't make any sense to you. And you can see that there are some signs throughout the halls of skirmishes. You meet like a servant or another member of your family who like just tell you a little bit of their harrowing tales at how this person or that person was a hero, or this person or that person was just brutally slaughtered, and this coward just ran away and left them for dead. All those types of stories. But eventually, you find Fortuna and Solavita and Chauncey and Arkadiy in the hall leading up to the matriarch's chambers.
What hells have you ran through?
Well, a lot of random seamen magically appeared, and yes, I did use that word. And you don't make faces. I can get through the whole thing without laughing.
That's just not how I work. I like making the faces. It's fun. It's fun. I like making people break.
There were a bunch of men from the sea who attacked us out of the darkness. They magically appeared, and then if they were killed, other than maybe, just as a theory, turning them into statues, didn't seem to cause this effect, but turned into a bunch of salt.
Cousin Vincent, you seem none the worse for wear. You must have fared quite well in your attack.
A simple shopping day, yes. Attack? No.
So I was attacked, and Solavita was attacked, and
yes.
Chauncey was attacked, and you were not attacked.
Are you accusing me?
Just ensuring that I have the full account of recent events. Was Vincent's name not on the parchment?
The piece of parchment Solavita has only actually has Solavita's Chauncey's name. It's a partial parchment. It was sort of torn in the process. So there might have been more, and there might have been other parchments that are on some of your other attackers that you all didn't necessarily grab. So
Well, this is most fortunate, actually, Vincent, that you did not need to suffer. And she kind of looks at Chauncey. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. However, there was a note that was found on one of our attackers in Henrietta's hand with descriptions of some of us.
You must speak with her immediately.
You hear, as you say that, Vincent, you hear Pelletier as he sits down on where Chauncey sets the chair. He's like,
oh, well, I've been wanting to speak with her for days, but she's been most unresponsive, I'll be honest with you. I've been very upset. I ring the bell at least, 10, 20 minutes, and sometimes she doesn't respond at all. Come to think of it, I'm not sure I've seen her all week.
Oh, great. Okay, new theory. She's also been kidnapped and tortured for information is also a possibility. A possibility, just throwing it out there. If you let us know when people are missing, we can react sooner.
Or perhaps, she's smart enough to have some idea of what will happen from delivering this information and feared the repercussions from...
That would be better for her safety if that were the case.
Uncle Pelletier, where are the employment records for our servants?
I beg your pardon?
Do we have Henrietta's first and last name and where she actually lives?
Oh, well, she lives here. Of course, she lives in the servant hall. She's one of our longest servants, so she has afforded such luxury. Her name, however, is actually I know this one because we work so closely. One second, it's right there. It's on the tip of my tongue. Her name's not Henrietta, I should say. Her official name, I believe, is Etta. Which sounds quite terrible. That's why I had her change it when she first started working for us. Can you imagine someone wandering throughout the halls and I just have to call out Etta? Well, that doesn't sound like a proper name.
Yes, and the last name.
It's one of those foreign ones.
I'm sure it's atrocious.
Camian, I believe. Yanatar. Yes, that's it. Etta Yanatar. I said, now, Etta, you're going to be Henrietta now, and if anyone asks you what your family name is, you just turn and walk the other way. And that is how we've lived all these years. And she's been an excellent servant up until recently, of course. She's been very upset, apparently, or she's not responding to me. I couldn't see why. We've got along
I'm going to leave this to you to deal with.
You're leaving it to yourself? That's how unusual.
Nope. Oh my God, Fortuna, I'm going to leave it to you. And the other way around.
And Fortuna had just sort of been looking at Vincent and just sort of shaking her head and under her breath just saying, and we wonder why she might have betrayed us, as Pelletier is just rambling on and on about this, like forcing her to change her name and hide her identity and whatnot. And Fortuna just sort of looks at Vincent and just shaking her head a bit.
We understand, though, Uncle. You must maintain decorum within the halls. Of course.
Thank you, Arkadiy. It's just a pleasure to finally have a lengthy conversation with you. You're normally so very quiet and you don't talk very much. I understand, of course. I understand. Our Altavera's gaze can be quite menacing and intimidating.
And you know what? From now on, Uncle, I insist that we become as close as possible.
Oh, well, that sounds quite lovely. Thank you very much, Arkadiy. It'll be nice to have someone new to converse with. Wonderful. Now that Altavera is going to elevate herself, of course, into the role of matriarch, I am not going to have an ear as regular as she and I have shared for so long. So,
Uncle, now you shall have two.
I'll have two? To what?
Ears to listen.
Oh, I've always had
all
two
your
ears.
immense knowledge. Before then.
Well, I do have immense knowledge. It's very true. Just a few years ago, I was instrumental, you see, in uncovering these hidden vaults beneath our. Were you aware of this? It was this terrible industry. But I found them by cross-referencing a series of investments, of course, time. But it's all very technical. I can walk you through it if you like. I'm sure you have the brain
Uncle,
for it.
Actually, I do want you to walk me through it, step by step.
Oh, well, I'm sure we could probably find something better to do. We have to figure out what happened with
my full
Eliana.
attention. I'm wrapped.
Well, the math is very tricky, you see.
Oh, it's okay.
It requires looking at it. Well, I really need to have my ledgers in front of me.
Uncle, yes, some other time you can regale us with the story of your immense heroism. But for now, I do believe we have a missing family member, and we should really put our efforts towards that.
Yes. Altavira is already directing the staff as if she has ascended herself already. She is truly doing a very admirable job. She's going to make an excellent matriarch, don't you think, Fortuna?
That is what they say. Speaking of, I suppose I should go check in with our acting matriarch and ensure that we are all on the same page with our efforts.
Do you really think that is a good thing right now to interfere with such business?
Yes, Uncle.
Yes.
I do believe.
Well, we can't allow the good auntie to be bothered with such things. That is our place within the family. Again, that's what a good boy would do.
Arkadiy speaks. He's so very wise. Isn't he very wise? Yes. You can learn a thing or two from him.
Okay, so you guys...
Please do get those ledgers together. I insist the next time we meet, you speak to me at length about them.
Well, I very much will. I had never realized you had such an interest in numeration. I am very excited. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I won't be with us for forever, so I am looking for an heir of my own of sorts, and perhaps you, Arkadiy, have shown an acumen and an interest that none have shown so far. Well, I'm speaking out of turn, of course.
I'm truly blessed. Thank you so much. I insist we return to this at a later time.
Excellent. Okay, so you guys, we are in investigative phase. Okay, so
we're trolling Aaron so hard.
I know, Aaron is really bad.
Yeah.
Chauncey's a piece of shit. I'm sorry.
Oh no, this is great. Aaron's going to show up in your door.
We did this in Pharaohs and Princesses, where we just kept sticking his character in gravy. That's basically what we did. Just stuck in gravy.
I believe cheese curds was the latest meal.
Cheese curds, yes, cheese curds on Tuesday. That's right.
Yeah, poor Aaron.
Okay, so just remember how the game works. You have investigative abilities. Tell me what you're using to try to kind of gather clues, either here in the matriarch's area. It could be elsewhere throughout the manor. You guys just tell me what you want to do, what you're looking for, and then I can tell you potentially if there's spends that you could also have as well. So
what was the last name? Was it Yadavan?
Yanatar.
Yanatar.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to maybe make a spend of commoner to see if there are any Yanatar families? Maybe around more of... I'm not sure that
I don't... Fit. I would say you can make this...
I don't know. Like...
Well, I don't think... Commoner's not a... A commoner is your allegiance, you're saying?
It's an allegiance, yeah. Like basically wondering if amongst the more low-born folks, like obviously I wouldn't know her directly, but maybe that's a name that I've heard of in one of the districts around that place.
Absolutely. I got you. We're on the same page now. Yeah, go ahead and do that. You would know that in the foreign districts, there is a small neighborhood called Cane Town. It is a place where various folks from the Republic of Keem, which is one of the other nations in our setting, but it's one that's not immediately near Eversink. It's one that's far to the north. It's also one that's kind of known for being very industrial. Like they're very good with sort of machines. Think of they have like a little bit of a steampunk edge or vibe to them.
Okay.
They have. And they're very much anti monarch, anti autocrat. Like they have kind of these. They're proud of their criminal past and things like that. And you would know that that there is a small contingent in the foreign districts southwest of where you all live, kind of not quite all the way to Sag Harbor, where a group of like, immigrants and visitors and stuff that they kind of meet up. It's a very, again, very industrial. There's a lot of people go there to get things fixed. So like there's a lot of like tinkerers and such that work there. And if there is any, so that's probably the best place for you to look and ask around for Yanatar.
Well, if anybody wants to, go slumming it a bit over in Cane Town, there's a rather industrious group of people that might recognize the name. Nothing guaranteed to it. At least it's a direction.
It's a good route to follow. Let's see what else there is.
Okay, let's just kind of just do a roundtable then. Fortuna, what would you be doing? Chauncey was sort of digging a little bit further into Etta. What were you doing, Fortuna? What do you want to focus on?
I would say that Fortuna was kind of telling the truth, that she did want to chat with Altavera and kind of just make sure that we've gotten sort of the full update on everything here. Maybe see if the City Watch has turned up anything in their initial investigation. So she's kind of doing kind of homestead kind of collection of information.
Okay, let's put a pin in. We'll come back to that because that's something that I might give you some information depending on what other people do, and so it might vary depending upon what other people are doing. Vincent, what do you think you would be doing?
I have felonious intent, so I can see you kind of do the same investigation the guards are doing.
Okay. Okay. What you can tell, so if you kind of start moving around and with your, just sort of with what you've learned from your time amongst criminals in the Old Summer Palace, learning from there, like, how would second story folk kind of like break into places, or how would they break through this? I would say first you would notice that just where you're at now, the door to the matriarch's chamber, it looks as though there's a complex like antique locking system that's like on the door itself that seems to have just been dismantled. That's something very obvious and easy to see. The door wasn't like smashed open or anything like that. Whoever got into this place, they got into it through like guile and what looks like a kind of an understanding of how this locking mechanism would work. There is a point. If you wanted to like actually spend a point, there might be more that you can discover as you maneuver around.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and spend one.
Okay. So if you're going around and sort of following some of the City Watch, kind of doing the same thing they're doing, you're seeing all these salt piles. You've heard the stories both from your family members and probably from, others that you've passed along the way, servants and things, about how these people just turn to salt. They just turn to salt. At one point, you hear the yipping of foxes from the fox kennel. And you know that the last couple of years have been, Gustavo has been trying to like get that going once more because you've lost so many. And you hear like the yipping of them, and then as it sounds like one was just hurt. And when you look in the direction of the kennel, you can see that there's something wrong with the door. The door kind of looks like it was forced open in some way. But you also notice that there is like this small little trail of like salt water. Looks like a smudge of water that goes underneath it, as if somebody kind of tried to break into this place. And you hear the foxes kind of going crazy.
I'll follow that trail. Does it lead anywhere?
It does. It leads right up to underneath the door of the kennel. And when you push the kennel open, you can see and hear that all of the young pups, these young fox pups, are like yipping and barking around. But you notice like on the ground, Gustavo is like, and he's like in this state of like he's alive. You could tell he's moving. But then you see like standing over top of him, there is a grimy looking man, with like ripped pants, like his pants don't barely go past his knees and they're torn. You can see he's barefoot. and he's kind of covered in grime and he's dripping wet. You can see like it just looks like water and salt are dropping, and he's right now in the process of raising this kind of big, heavy, like wooden club. And he's about ready to swing it down on Gustavo.
Halt, intruder.
And he looks back at you and he's like, don't tell me what to do. And then he's like, and he starts charging at you instead. What do you do, Vincent?
I'll lead him back to everyone else.
So you turn around, you start running, and he kind of chases you out. He chases you out into the middle of the grounds, and he sees you like racing towards the steps that go into the back of your manor. He's not an idiot though, so he stops at a certain point, and he looks up and he can see the city watch now has kind of caught wind of you racing up towards them, and they turn now, and you see one or two of them are like fiddling with getting a crossbow out while others are pulling swords and charging down like, halt, intruder, and the racing down the stairs. And he kind of turns at this point and looks to flee, but he doesn't flee back into the kennel. You see him racing in the direction of the edge of your property that goes off into the swampy water. You can see he's just sort of like racing forward. What do you do, Vincent?
I'll do my best to bind him, restrain him from moving.
Okay. Well, what are we rolling for that? It's gonna be a check.
It'll be a little sorcery, probably a maneuver.
Okay, so we're gonna do a sorcery maneuver. You're gonna try to keep him bound. Your chains. Okay, give me a sorcery roll. Remember, before you roll, you can spend sorcery points to increase your bonus. I know it's been a while since you've played, so if that's something you would want to do so now. That'll give you your modifier for the roll.
Yeah, I'll give it 1 point.
Okay, so you're going to roll a d6 plus 1.
Got a 4.
Okay, and so if you're doing a maneuver, so what a maneuver is you, if successful, you set the difficulty. The target must either accept the effect of the maneuver or suffer damage equal to difficulty -2. In this case, it means it would suffer 2 damage. I'm going to accept the effect because if it takes 2 damage, it's going to die. So instead, describe what happens as your chains like wrap around him. What does it look like?
Nice slithering chains go across the floor, catch him by his feet, trip him down.
And he falls down on like face first into the kind of the sort of patchy grass of your yard. You're not quite near the sort of the hedge maze where all of like the statues that Solavita animates every now and then. You're not quite there yet. You're a little bit farther away from the gazebo area there, but he doesn't quite get there, and you just have him locked in place now. Okay. And we'll check back in with you in a second, and we'll see what you want to do with him in a moment. Solavita, last we saw of you and Fortuna were patching each other up. What would Solavita be turning her attention to while investigating your manor here?
I'm not the best at this. Social's not my skill, but I am going to go and talk to the servants about Etta Yanatar, see what they have to say about her, and also break into her apartment, I guess, room in the manor.
Okay. Excellent. So those are 2 different things. So do you have like servility?
Okay, no, we'll just do the breaking and entering then.
Or, I mean, actually, no. If you're just talking to people, you could do charm, you could do command, you can do intimidation.
I don't think Solavita has any of those.
I'm just going to do the breaking and entering, please and thank you.
You keep talking to them and they just keep walking past you.
Yeah.
Like, or maybe they're just too afraid of you. They're like, oh, no. Like, you're like, you have a reputation. Sure, we can do that. Okay.
I have no social skills except for liar's tale, which I just added.
And you're role playing her so well then. Okay.
Rude.
So mean.
Well, let's see how well your princess does on Tuesday.
That's fair. You've already given her a curse. She's half taffy, half
You
rock.
voluntarily drank the potion?
I made a bold choice. I made a bold choice. Okay.
Exactly, the fun choice.
So what investigation or what investigative ability? Okay.
I'm
no, that'll work.
I'm going to use skullduggery, and I am going to kind of go into where her room is, assuming that I know where that is, break in, totally see what I can find, see if there's something that she may have hidden notes under her bed or anything like that.
Okay. With skullduggery, no point spend yet. With skullduggery, just using it and looking around at hiding places. It's a very small room that she seems to share with at least 2 other servants. And it is kind of compact. Think of it like a triple-decker like bunk bed kind of thing. It's all very narrow. It's not a very, like, your family doesn't treat them particularly well. But you do find like on the top bunk, the very topmost bunk, where you're told by the servants that's the one that she sleeps in. You do find like a panel on the wall that is easy to remove. Like you can tell when you get there, like there's a bit of grease on it, like some kind of black oily grease, some sort of stain. And when you pull it back, you notice there's like tools inside. And you can see that there's the types of tools, not that a servant wouldn't really carry. Like these are the types of tools that if you worked in the guild of architects and canal watchers and stuff, they might have these types of things as they work with the various sort of pumps and dredge machinery and stuff. But they're like wrenches and spanners and stuff like that. And you can see that there's like a bit of oil like in a small little container here as well. You can tell that she seems to have some tools. That's the first thing. And it's because you've got like sorcery. The other thing I'm just going to give you for free, since you're the one doing it, you notice as well that there is on the inside of this panel, right as you're pulling it open, and before you reach in to actually touch the tools themselves, you see on the inside of the panel,
trap.
It's not trap, but it's warded. So you can see that the panel, as you pull it back on the other side of it, you can see that there is a not uncommon kind of warding, a warding rune that seems to be etched into the inside of it. It's the type of thing where, like, if you were to reach your hand in and grab those tools, that would trigger a trap. And so you catch it before it would happen.
Then I can use burglary, because I do have sorcery as well, to do a roll to try to disarm or remove the ward.
I would say, because it's you specifically who is both attuned and adept at sorcery and at burglary, I'm not going to say you need to spend anything. I think this is just your bag. And so you just are able to very quickly, like, you kind of run your finger over some of the runes that have been put on the inside. You utter some sort of phrase, and you're able to grab them.
Abracadabra.
Something like that. And so you have like these basic tools. Like there are these tools again that are not common. A servant would not have these, and it's hidden.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the tools and the vial of oil, and I've been carrying this rucksack around with me filled with the trinkets that I released from the sinking part of the city. And I'm going to put them in my little baggie.
Okay, fair enough.
I might go and talk to, I don't think I have time in this scene, but I will probably plan to go talk to the Guild of Architects and Canal Watchers later about them and see if they know
Absolutely. Okay, so then, the other big thing I would say to take away from that Sola Vita is that Henrietta or Etta knows various aspects of sorcery of some kind and actually did something in and underneath your home. Like in the house of your ancestors.
That's
like
not great.
Okay.
And also, people need to stop stealing my build.
Fortuna, I'm going to come back to you. So you said you were gonna go to and speak with like Altavir, and when you finally reach her, you can see that she has kind of taken up this stately position in a now cleaned. Like kind of, it's not so much, it's like a solar, essentially. It's like a kind of a greeting area, and like where it looks like she's meeting, like there's Artura, the city watch captain in this area, and she's there, and she's like kind of, it's not the library because that's sort of a mess, but this is the cleanest place, and you can see she's being very stately, and she is kind of got her hands folded, and she's talking to Altavira. She's talking to Artura, and she's like, Miss Lamaso, I am very upset with. We pay the wages of you and your city watch officers, and on your watch, my family's ancestral estate was brutally attacked. We have a dozen. Was it a dozen? And someone gives her a dozen very heroic house guards who have suffered the ultimate price. They have been slain, and not only that, but we are naturally contractually obligated to pay off their salaries to their descendants. And you have what kind of leads? And you can see as you walk in, like Artura, her eyes look up at you, Fortuna, and she's got that, God, I hate my job, I hate my life face once more. And like Altavira is like, I want you to tell me what it is you're going to do about the Bonaventures. Arrest them. You should have arrested them all the first time, and they don't seem to be arrested, and they've just lived here free despite all of the terrible, awful things that Pelletier and I were able to uncover and provide evidence to you for. And she's just nodding and nodding. Miss Mainwallen, I don't believe there's no evidence as of yet to suggest that the Bonaventures were involved. This does seem to be a bit outside of their usual play. This is very forward and bold, which is not quite there. They've lived down the street from you. If they wanted to attack you, they would have had ample opportunity for generations, and they've never done that. I have also sent watch officers over, and Tommaso and many of the others were not even in the neighborhood at the time of the attack. Oh, they hired someone, surely. They wouldn't ever do this themselves.
Madams, if I may be so bold as to interrupt this conference.
And then you see Alta. Oh, well, it's very kind of you to grace us with your presence. I see you have survived. Have you heard about the terrible attack that we have suffered? Assassination attempts here, Fortuna. And you, where were you? Where were you? Your family needed you.
Well, in fact, and she acknowledges Altavira, but she sort of turns to Artura and says, I wanted to share a bit of information for this investigation, that as much of a travesty as it was for this to befall our family estate, members of our family were also attacked in broad daylight wherever we happened to be in Eversink. And she'll list off where she was, where Sylvia, and she'll go through the list of all of us, and she'll kind of show like her wounds that Solavita had kind of bandaged up a bit. So in addition to the awful occurrence here, this was a coordinated effort throughout the city.
And you can see like Artura is genuinely listening to you, and she kind of gives you a look and kind of gets up. Altavira is like, oh, Fortuna, must you really stoop this low? You weren't here, and so now you have to fabricate an assassination attempt elsewhere in the city? That sounds patently absurd. How could so many attacks happen at once? Don't be foolish. The Bonaventures are not that smart.
Exactly. They are not that smart. And she sort of nods to the city watchwoman, kind of indicating she was listening when she was just saying that she didn't think it was the Bonaventures. Such a thing would have required a very good deal of planning. And we will, of course, there are things that need to be attended to here. And Lady Altavira, they are in your very capable hands. If I do have your permission for the cousins and I to assist the City Watch and do whatever we can to get to the bottom of this, as quickly as possible.
I would say I downright expect you to do such a thing. As your elder and as acting matriarch until our dear Eliana is found and returned safely, I insist that you aid in the investigation, Fortuna.
I would think of nothing else to do. Rest your mind. We will do the best that we can. And she'll sort of look over to Artura. We will stay in communication.
And Althavera is like, please, talk amongst the two of you. I have had a very trying day. I'm going to get to Sherry. And you see she just kind of gets up in all of her stately, like, regalness that is really kind of embarrassing and wanders out. Before you kind of turn, like, Artura will catch you. Like, Artura wants to talk to you because you just mentioned that you got attacked across the district. So, like, if you try to leave, Artura's like, one moment.
No.
Fortuna.
Yeah, Fortuna is actually going to Altavira and making a big show of sort of assisting her down, giving a bit of a curtsy, doing all of the things for show. Take a rest.
She finally, the treatment that you should have been showing me all these very years. And she gets down and she starts waddling off.
And she just does that sarcastic where she turns back to Artura and just has that like very wide, stiff smile when she turns back to Artura.
And Artura, like, is like looking at you, and you can see there's a very considered look. Like, she's trying to get a read on you, and she's trying to see if, like, how serious that was in terms of your genuflecting in the direction of Althavera.
And Fortuna doesn't say anything to the contrary. Like, her facial expression would give a little away, but she definitely doesn't say anything against Altavera.
Okay. When you engage with Artura here, what of your abilities are you using? Like charm? Is that sort of what we're after? Or is there something else that you're kind of engaging in? There's still got to be like you still got to tell me like investigatively.
Sure,
like,
of course.
So like,
I don't do charm so much. I have nobility. I've got laws and traditions.
You should put some points in charm because you do a lot of role play as charm. So you should probably put some points in it to reinforce it.
I probably should. Yeah. So I can. Yeah.
Okay.
I have laws and traditions. If that would help me engage with the City Watch.
That's totally fine.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, so as you regale, I'm assuming we don't have to play it all out, but like I'm assuming you tell Arturo what happened to you. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Yeah, and anything that Solavita or Chauncey would have shared additionally.
And so when you mention then that they smelled of like the swamp, when you mentioned the salt, when you mentioned the brine, she was very curious. We found this, and she reaches into a pocket. One of my watchmen, when they were first looking at your matriarch's chambers, and then she like holds it up to her nose and she gives it a whiff, and then she kind of hands it over to you. And it's just a piece of parchment. The very curious odor, in addition to the message that is written on it. And when you smell it, it smells like, you have to like pull your head away because of how like foul and dank it smells. And then when you look at the message, you can see that it's addressed to Eliana. And you can see that it's like one of those folded pieces of paper. It's like a piece of paper that's been folded. It's not like an envelope. The paper itself has been folded almost in the envelope shape. There's a seal that's kind of stamped. And you notice that the message itself says, "We need only you. The rest of the family can be spared."
Oh my. And you said that your watch found this in her chambers.
It was at her writing desk, yes.
Well, that is most interesting because she is gone, but we were all still attacked. So it would appear to have been a trickery.
Spoken with some of your servants. They said that message was delivered a week ago.
Oh my. Might I perhaps get the name of the servants that knew that information that they decided not to share until such awful tidings have come to pass?
She'll reference the servant that you would know. It's not Etta, but she would also like kind of look at you with a curious brow and be like, they said the matriarch instructed her to keep it a secret from the rest of the family.
Understood.
As far as I understand, yeah. Do you recognize the seal? It's not the Bonaventures. It is not the Carnuccios or any other noble seal that I'm aware of within Alderhall.
I would need to take a closer look at it. Solovita is usually my eyes in these situations. And she'll take a look at the seal.
When you take a look, you have already learned, you know what this is. It is a seal that matches the banner that the pirate King Falcone had on his ships on the mosaic that you saw in the undervaults. And that was like kind of scraped away, and you saw the real mosaic, the flag that was flown. And that's what you see on the stamp itself.
Oh, and she doesn't necessarily let that reflect on her face that she recognizes it. She just sort of kind of is doing that thing. And she just says, well, you are most correct. This absolutely does not appear to be a seal of any active families or mercanti or any such thing like that. It's most curious. Might I be able to keep this so that we can further compare this with our archives?
Give me a sway test as you are lying directly to a City Watch officer and trying to hide your... So sway would be the roll unless you wanted to make a spend on... What's it called? I think it's just sway. Yeah, just do sway.
Okay. I can do that. I just want to make sure I've got that's not going to do... Yeah, that's not going to do anything. Okay.
You are interfering with a City Watch investigation.
I am. I'll spend 2.
Take you down to Cane Town.
Oh, and I rolled a 6, so 6 plus 2 is 8.
Not only does she agree with you, or like not that that she believe you, but she says, but she allows you to keep the note. Please take good care of it. We have seen it. We have logged it in our books, but it is the property of your families, of course. When you have had sufficient use of it, please return it to us so that we can keep it on file.
Yes. And there was nothing else of note in her chambers. This, of course, is most distressing, as it is that she kept this a secret and took too long to consider.
Surprised that you didn't look into the chambers yourself.
Well, I knew that your watch was there, and we've only just arrived after
I would
our
think
separate attacks. And
you would be concerned about the well-being of your matriarch. But then again, from what I have heard, you are one of those in line to potentially take her place when she does pass on.
And
you
Fortuna
in Altavira
is displeased with this insinuation, as thinly veiled as it is. And she will...
but before you're able to say anything, you hear the coughing, the sounds of like one of their City Watch officers. And then Altavira looks back and she turns to you, like interrupting you, not letting you get the last word. If you'll excuse me, I have work to do. And she turns around and walks away from you, just letting the thinly veiled accusation linger in the air as you fumble with your words, Fortuna.
Oh, City Watch throwing out motive.
We're going to hop back to Chauncey. So Chauncey, was there anything else you were doing that you wanted to do at the manor before you left the scene?
Nah, we'll just jump into it.
You can actually talk to the servants. I can't. You can actually talk to the servants.
If you snag him or something before he heads out, he'd be willing to.
Sorry, Chauncey. Nobody will talk to me. I really just want to go back to my books. Please, can you do the talking?
That's so funny.
I guess it probably would make sense to ask some questions here before going to Cane Town. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You just gonna use charm.
Charm or even trustworthy. Like maybe if he gets to a spot where it's just the servants and there's nobody else of nobility around, he'll drop the fake accent. Look, I don't want Etta to get in trouble. Okay. I'm trying to make the best of things for myself here. I don't want anything bad to happen to her. Can you please just let me understand what's going on?
Okay. No spend necessary. This is just information you would easily get just by being kind to your servants. And they will all, and there'll be multiple ones who kind of vaguely corroborate a lot of these things, maybe some slight different flavorings. But what they paint is the picture of somebody who has been increasingly distant and secretive. That there are times in which like her roommates would come into the room to go to sleep, and they would hear her doing strange mumblings in a different language that they didn't recognize, like up on the bunk itself, and they would hear her like quickly scrambling whenever they tried to greet her. She was never like unkind, like that was never an issue. And so they usually just kind of let her have her privacy. But there was definitely some like odd behavior here and there. Some of them just attribute it to her just getting sick and tired of Pelletier, just sort of, and which was a completely legitimate kind of belief. And so like there was some that thought that she had just kind of snapped. And there are even some who thought that she was going to kill Pelletier at one point. But it never quite kind of came to that.
I've heard him talk about his books. I understand.
And they like stifle a laugh, and then they realize they just laughed in front of you, and then they start apologizing. Very sorry. Very sorry.
Apologizing. It's fine. Nobody else is around.
Because
I checked. Trust me.
They look at you with like kind of concern, and then they calm a bit. It seems like they definitely like trust you in ways that they don't necessarily trust other people in this house.
I understand. I'm making the best of the opportunity I have. I doubt it's going to last very long for me. And I've appreciated the kindness that you've shown me. So I want to show some kindness to you. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of assumptions made about her. If you hear something, maybe don't talk to them, but talk to me. Okay?
And they nod, and they say, like, I'm going to say you're like in a study. Like their back is to the window, like looking out on the beautiful like estate backyard. And like you're looking at them, and they're just like, I'm just so very thankful that the attack is over, that there's no more violence, and everyone's fine. And that's around that time you see a man running across the backyard, and suddenly spectral change whip out, grab him, and slam him to the ground. The servant you're talking to doesn't notice, like, I just don't think I can take any more violence. This was supposed to be a safe job, you see.
I kind of like get my hand on her shoulder, just turn her away from it. I think I should pour you a drink.
That's
sit
so
down,
very
take
kind.
a load off.
I've always wanted to sit on the patio overlooking the water. Could I possibly? Oh no, I'm sorry. I've overstepped. I'm so very sorry.
Well, let's at a later time, of course. But right now, there's guards wandering around, and we don't want to make things awkward. We don't want them to assume anything of you. Sorry, I thought I saw somebody earlier.
Wait.
So I was just kind of.
You think the City Watch think I'm involved?
No, of course not.
No.
My concern is that maybe somebody thinks Etta was involved, and she's been so lovely, right? Obviously, she's frustrated with Pelletier, who would be.
Yes, you're right. Maybe I should just go back about my duties to make it look as though I am loyal. Yes.
Well, of course you are. You're wonderful. In fact, can I tell you a secret? You're my favorite. We will have that drink at a later time.
I didn't even know that you knew my name. Like they're waiting to see you confirm that you know their name.
I'll just instead, like, he forgets, but he'll like with a charm, just kind of like timing, like just do a little peck on the cheek and turn around, just to like do enough fluster to make her forget and then leave.
Okay.
because he doesn't want to admit he doesn't know her name.
Okay. So you leave. You just saw something going down in the backyard. And we'll cut to that, where Vincent, you have chained this figure. They are in your spectral chains. They're writhing. You can tell that their club has fallen to the ground a few feet from them. There are a couple city watch officers as well that are starting to close in on you as you're closest, so you're going to get to him first. But you just hear like,
Let me go. Let me go.
as they're just like twisting and writhing.
You sully the main wall and gardens. Why?
You cannot sully that which has no decency, no pride. This place is filled with the blood of cowards. It deserves to be burned from the earth.
As they're just like twisting and turning.
There are many that think this all of a sudden. I can't see why.
No, not all of a sudden. Your arrogance has blinded you to it. Everyone has said it. Everyone whispers in the alleys and behind your back. Across the seas, we speak of your treachery.
And he's just like twisting and turning wild, like spitting. And with each spit, you just see like this, like the actual spit itself, like in it, like there's substance to it. And it's just like, it's like he's coughing not up phlegm, but he's coughing up like this dirty, gross water.
Enemies across the pond. You're not from Eversink.
And you can tell like he's got an accent, but it's not particularly thick. But he certainly doesn't have like the look of Eversinkers, right?
No, I am not. No. If you wish to kill me, kill me. I have no desire to talk with the blood of a coward.
As he's twisting and turning.
I won't kill you. You'll deal with the watch.
And he just laughs at that and laughs.
I will see you again then. Trust me, I will.
And you see like the watch are now have joined you and they're looking at you. They're like kind of waiting for your assent to take him away. But Vincent, it might dawn on you from the stories that you've heard from Sylvita and Fortuna and Chauncey and from all of the piles around here that hurting them, all it did was turn them into salt and they just sort of disappeared. And this just looks just like another one of them. And so when you say that you're just going to let the City Watch take him, he seemed to be very happy that you said that, as if that is exactly what he wanted you to say.
I'll let him have it. That's fine.
Okay. So they
yours.
Grab him.
He's yours.
And I'll say this is, you see the limping Artura eventually catch up as well. And they'll reach down and like your spectral chains, and you're getting weird looks from the watch, but at the same time, like you just captured something, but you have these like spectral chains that are wrapped around it, and you can tell that they're very uncomfortable with this. But they don't interfere. Like it doesn't seem like you've corrupted anything here. And they start to put proper manacles on him, and you kind of can let your go, and they start dragging him away. And like Artura gives you like a curt nod, but you have a reputation. And Artura, you would know, was there, was it 15 years ago at this point, when you blew up basically at the Tiebreakers Day. She wasn't a watch captain then. She was just a younger a watch post officer who was there. And she sort of, you can tell she shies away from you. And when you see her limp away, it might dawn on you, Vincent, where that limp came from. And it was from whatever transgressed. But she is professional. And she just gives you a very curt nod, but not a friendly one. And you can see that her and her watch officers begin to drag this figure away. Okay.
Just
Anything
make
else
sure
you wanted to do?
Gustavo's okay.
Yeah, you rush over to Cassava and you can tell that he has been battered. He's got his face is sort of busted here and there. And he's got bruises and contusions, but it doesn't look like there's anything life threatening. But he has basically been beaten really bad. You can see that one of the older foxes also took a hit, but they're kind of writhing, so you can tell they're still okay, but they're kind of limping around with like one of their legs not quite working just right. But you can call people over if you want to have them take a look at it. We don't have to like mechanically do it with Solovito or Fortuna, but you can call over like a different servant or such, or they can call for, someone from like the alchemist shop down the hall to bring tinctures or tonics to help, that kind of thing.
Perfect.
Anything else you would want to do, Vincent?
I think that's all for me.
Okay. So do we say the four of you take a moment to like check back in with each other?
Yeah.
An hour maybe has passed. Okay. So we'll say the four of you find a little spot maybe in the library. It's a mess. You can tell that like some fighting went down in here.
How dare they come into my library? Who is even coming in here?
You just hear,
It's very upsetting, isn't it?
No! Why did you find this place? Go back to the archives.
This is where I work quite regularly. I don't know what
I mean, we did
Isn't
ask him to check in the ledgers. He's only doing what he's asked
what's
to do.
that? Oh, I'm so
This
very
is-
sorry. It seems Altavira needs my attention.
Yes.
I will.
Okay.
Yes, I'll just scurry along now.
he scurries along.
See to it then.
Okay. So the four of you are together. And we'll say Arkadiy is there with you, obviously. We'll keep him with you. So what are you guys doing?
Solovito, do you have the other parchment?
I believe I gave it to Chauncey.
Chauncey,
yes.
here. So I learned from Artura that our matriarch received a threatening letter approximately a week ago, according to the servants, and she ensured their secrecy. And they just spoke up today now that she is missing.
Who's that bitch?
Yeah, she really could have taken one for the team.
Well, it appears that she did, because the letter said that, no, you're right. She could have.
No,
and
she
did.
definitely
That's-
didn't. She waited
yes,
the week
no,
to try to
that's-
push it.
That is, yes, no, you are correct. But keep voices down with such things. But Chauncey, can you see if this handwriting might be the same between the parchment and this note?
Of course.
It is definitely not. It's very different. The one written by Edda is long, winding, curly. The one written to the matriarch is definitely more blocky, and it doesn't have any kind of artistic quality to it.
Yes. No, not a match at all. It looks like Ed has a bit more flourish to her. Seems like she's been in a bit of a state lately. Everybody says she's very kind, at her wit's end, with Peltier, of course. But talking about doing strange mumbling and drawing and woozy nonsense like you two do.
Yes, that actually does make sense. And Solovita pulls out her little rucksack. So I went and I checked, and there was a panel where her bed was, and she had architecture tools and some oils and such, and it was warded with magic. So she's definitely more than dabbling. She is successfully doing. I'm not sure what, but it would suggest she's got maybe more than we want going on in our underground area as well. I'm going to talk to my plan after this is to go talk to the Guild of Architects and see if they recognize it, because people's tools are usually quite personal. So maybe she talked to someone. But that would make sense. Matches what you say.
By the way, the one serving lady, she's about yay tall, kind of strawberry blonde hair. What is her name?
No idea.
I feigned that I knew her, and I don't
was?
actually know her name.
Did you have a friendly conversation with her, Chauncey?
Yeah, she was quite helpful.
Very friendly.
I didn't have enough time for all that.
Okay.
above
that
it.
is Paulina, of course.
Paulina, of course. Yes, of course, I remember now. I just didn't want to hurt her
Yes.
feeling at the moment and say the wrong name.
Do we have a Paulina? I just said
We have Palio, who is
okay.
one of the people you captured and let go back in the Tiebreakers arc.
Oh,
remember?
that's right.
We could have
That's
those
right.
two. That's fun. Palio and Paulina. Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you noticed the seal on this letter. This from our excursions a few years back under the
good
ground.
fun. So I got the Falcon's signature icon, like I should say, his seal on there.
Indeed. Vincent.
I really hated that excursion.
It aligns with the assailants. Just fished one out in the courtyard.
Oh, you did get to
dear,
fight.
there was another
Okay,
one?
yes. They
The
are
guard- yeah, the watch dealing with them,
persistent.
but he seemed to be a northerner.
a northerner. Hmm.
How was the watch here? And they were doing how did they miss one? And
Oh, that is a good question. I did go get them, so they saw the amount of blood that I had, but I don't know if they swept so much as went directly to our current great leader to listen to her.
there are so many of just I find myself agreeing with Altavira that we pay them for watching, and here we are coming in late, and Vincent has to do their work for them. And she's kind of clucking her tongue a little bit at that.
Yeah, we really got to put more defenses around the foxes. This is the second time they've been attacked, I think.
Oh, they were in near the foxes. My word. Poor
Sorry,
dears.
I jumped.
All right. So, in terms of things that you all have sort of discovered, you've got this bronze signet ring that you know is connected to the House Valtieri, who have some warehouses not that far from your own, Chauncey. So you would know how to find representatives without any issue. You know that if there's anywhere to find any kind of family or people who might know Etta outside of this place, possibly Cane Town and the foreign districts, you have the statues that are lingering in the legitimate bastard. You all saw some symbols and stuff start glowing on the bodies of some of these attackers at different times. You have this letter that you found in Eliana's chambers. That is sort of where you're at now. Where would you guys want to focus your follow-up attention here? We'll say we're in sort of late afternoon at this point.
So we've got a good idea that Etta was doing her shenanigans. We've got an idea of where we might try and find her family, somewhere for people. I'm not quite picturing how House Valtieri ties into this. Is sorcery normally kind of something that's in the blood, so to speak? Are there any members that we know of from that house that maybe would...
That's hard to tell, but I can sense it. Anyone can be a sorcerer.
Yeah, it's about reading, and sometimes it's about blood.
Okay, then.
Would you like to borrow some books?
No, I wouldn't.
So
I very much trust your instincts and intuition on the subject.
Solavita or Vincent, or even Fortuna, even. I think you have this as well, Forgotten Lore. I think the three of you might have something like that. So speaking on that, Chauncey, you're not wrong. You can sense it. And anytime you've been near a salt pile, I will tell you that anybody with the ability or the training to sense it has definitely sensed sort of a magical corruptive aura coming off of it. If anyone would like to make a spend, there is potentially more information you can glean from that.
The problem is there's 3 of us, so we're all waiting to see. I have 2 in Forgotten Lore I don't mind spending. Are you guys 1 or 2 or 3?
I'm only
Just
one.
one.
I will spend 1. It's the least impactful for me.
Well
Thanks,
done.
Solavita.
Okay. So Solavita, I'm going to say maybe like as that conversation transpires, you notice that there is a salt pile previously undiscovered deeper in your libraries here. And you're kind of getting that
And none of them could finish the job and take out Palantir, honestly.
he's so fast.
In my library.
Maybe he's behind it. Who knows? Okay, so when you kind of take a closer examination, kind of pick up some of the salt, you sort of sense or kind of reach out, whatever it might be, whatever your process is, you start to kind of piece something together. So Arkadiy mentioned that he saw them able to kind of reshape themselves, kind of growing up out of like a pool of water, and another one seemed to have the ability to just transport from one place to another, like kind of break into thousands of small bits of salt and just reform somewhere else. Like, so clearly they have some kind of capability, but what you're getting is this kind of this sort of almost like protective aura, this kind of how to describe it, some kind of aura that you think is there to kind of keep structure. And so even as you're looking at it, and as like with each sort of way that you're kind of fiddling with it and shoving with it, you see it's like breaking down. So like every little tiny piece of it, like even just watching it here, as you get close to it, you just see all the little pieces become finer and finer and finer and finer. And you remember, it occurs to you, and maybe you heard this in Chauncey's bar, maybe you heard it just by going across the Sag Harbor or whatever it might be, or maybe you just ran across it in one of your readings. But there is a shanty, this tide song, right, that is often sung amongst certain sailor company, right? That tells of a story of a ship whose crew became cursed and basically needed to return to salt water before dawn, lest they kind of crumble away. And between that and what you're examining, you might start to form a theory that whatever aura is kind of permeating, like that seems to be something that's going on here. You think that there's something that was put in place over them, some spell, some enchantment to help ward off that effect, at least delay that effect. And now that they have been sort of defeated, you're just seeing them crumble and crumble and crumble even further into finer and finer and finer bits of dust. So something or some sort of sorcerer has been put onto them to allow them to kind of walk amongst Eversink by being away from salt water. Does that make sense?
Well, they're definitely made connections with some sort of cabal. Maybe the ones that we took out have gone back to the saltwater, but I remember, Chauncey, maybe there was a shanty at your inn about some pirate crew that were cursed for having to return to salt. I'm going to have to do some research. Okay, I've got to... I think I got to do some reading. Maybe Vincent, if you want to help with some sorcerer investigation, but maybe Fortuna here. I will, and she opens the rucksack. These are her tools. This is Etla's tools and oil, and they're all, it looks like the Architecture Guild. I know you've got a little bit of sort of information there. And then she kind of, without pulling anything else out of the rucksack, hands it to Chauncey. Just a little bit from the side, from the down below area, and don't worry about that. And and maybe you can. I think maybe Vincent. What do you think? I'm thinking maybe history we want to look into, or what magic could be doing this.
Maybe a family's involved.
Our family's always involved. We have ties with the bug. And Fortuna's going to have to drink the bog water. It's going to be very funny. I've been pulling this same joke for 5 years now.
Never drink the bog water. Oh, God.
Oh, well,
Sorry.
Is there anything else? Is there anything further that we want to do here? Artura made a bit of a point that I had not yet myself examined our dear matriarch's room myself. So I suppose before leaving the premises, I should do that, as that is apparently an expected step in this process. I thought it was okay to trust her work, but of course I can do that myself. Is there anything else that we want to do here at the estate before we head off?
Not that I can think of. Vincent or Chauncey?
You've seen a lot already. If we hurry, you might catch up to whoever's involved.
Okay.
I don't see myself being much use to you in the research side of things, but I don't really feel like running off to go and talk to anybody by myself at the moment.
Are you going to go examine what Sylvita left for you at the legitimate bastard? She has a way of over speaking that.
Yes, it's a great idea.
It's important. It's just, some a deal that Chauncey and I had from before.
Indeed. Of course, a good idea. Has a little bit of time passed since our earlier stuff? Like,
I would say
the guards left and whatnot?
Yeah, I don't know if the guards have fully left, but there's definitely like a sense of it. Like once Vincent had a captive, they were very interested. And so they were likely bringing that captive back to like sort of the watchtower, the watch house in the neighborhood.
Okay. I'll do a slight detour before going to the legitimate bastard then.
Okay. All right. So we'll say then that as you've come together, you all have some idea of how you want to pursue this. You have a handful of leads, curious things that have popped up here and there, but there is no sign of the matriarch. There is no sign of that. And you have maybe a betrayer amongst you, and also weird connections to a mercanti house, Cane Town, and something possibly related once more to your godforsaken family. Okay, we're going to call it there. And we'll pick up next week with continuing our little investigation here. All right?
Okay.
All right. Well, you guys survived. You guys managed to not get into a fight without your guard dog, Arkadiy, which is probably smart, as he's a beast in fighting. So we'll dig into some more.
I'm so excited for us to start next session here in the estate with Arkadiy and have Arkadiy and Pelletier.
Arkadiy, please. Before you leave, I wanted to show you all of the accounts that we have been filing for the past 37 years. We'll find the other 13 prior to that. That's how long I've been at this.
I love Pelletier.
Honestly, I think in normal circumstances, Chauncey would love to know all about these secrets and to know all the books. He just wants Arkadiy to have to listen to all the bullshit and then take it later.
It's also, Pelletier is probably not all there and kind of an idiot, but I love him. He cracks me up.
I'm all for it.
It's super easy to get into character. I just squint my eyes and go, okay, and I just excellent. And like there.
That was my first time meeting him, so I like him.
He's phenomenal.
Although, if his nonsense got this started because of Edda, there was some finger wagging in his direction.
I can't believe they all failed to murder him, honestly.
Yeah.
He's a crafty old man. He's got some really special armor. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Plot armor.
It's called plot armor.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
Okay. All right. Let's get on there. Let's do some close plugs and then we'll bail. Normally I would toss this to Aaron so he could tell you to go check out all of the fun things they're doing over at Garblight Games. I don't know the specifics, but you should go check them out. They're friends of ours and they make good stuff. As for us here, first I'm going to start with our dear friend Steven, who has been making a game. It's called Huckleberry. Go to huckleberryrpg.com or look for Huckleberry RPG over at Drive-Thru RPG. And you can find all sorts of awesome things because there's the actual game itself, but then there's like a standalone adventure that I just put out a couple weeks ago. We got a new one coming out soon, and there's going to be more stuff that's in the pike to come out as well. You can also hop into the Discord. We have a whole separate space in the Discord for Huckleberry. We can talk about all about Huckleberry stuff, and so it's great. As for our streaming, tomorrow night, we are starting up Magnus Archives, run by our dear friend Steven. So we're going to be doing our session 0. You can see some of the people in the stream. Melissa, myself, Long, we're in that. And then on Friday, we're doing some Savage Worlds. We're actually playing Han Cluster from our friend Tracy Sizemore. Has this coming up on Backer Kit next month. So we're going to be doing a little play of like the Jumpstart and maybe 1 or 2 of the Savage Tales, so you can kind of see what that game's all about. Nice. Space sci-fi. It's really fun. Very excited to give that a go. Monday, we've got Otherscape, where you can see the top row as we're playing in our Mythos Cyberpunk campaign. And then Tuesday, Kipster, what are we playing again?
A little bit of Perils and Princesses, a little bit more Perils and Princesses, but we got Aaron, Melissa, Jeff, and Derek.
Yes.
Yes. For that.
It's okay. He never checks the channel, so we can forget it. Fantastic. All right, so that's it for us. We're gonna go ahead and raid somebody. We're gonna raid our friends over at Insomnia Night RPG. Have a great rest of your night. Have an awesome weekend. Come back tomorrow and watch some Magnus Archives. We'll see y'all later. Bye bye.
See ya.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Yeah.